I think life on Earth must be about more than just solving problems. It's got to be something inspiring, even if it is vicarious. If you go back a few hundred years, what we take for granted today would seem like magic: being able to talk to people over long distances, transmit images, flying, accessing vast amounts of data like an oracle. These are all things that would have been considered magic a few hundred years ago. I'm interested in things that change the world or that affect the future, and wondrous, new technology where you see it, and you're like, wow, how did that even happen? How is that possible? I think it's very important to have a feedback loop, where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. With artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram in the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon? Doesn't work out. An asteroid or a supervolcano could certainly destroy us, but we also face risks that dinosaurs never saw: an engineered virus, nuclear war, inadvertent creation of a micro-black hole, or some as yet unknown technology could spell the end of us. Man has the power to act as his own destroyer, and that is the way he has acted through most of his history. The key to making things affordable is design and technology improvements, as well as scale. I don't spend my time pontificating about high-concept things. I spend my time solving engineering and manufacturing problems. I don't spend my time pontificating about high-concept things. I spend my time solving engineering and manufacturing problems. What most people know but don't realize they know is that the world is almost entirely solar-powered already. If the sun wasn't there, we'd be a frozen ice ball at 3 degrees Kelvin, and the sun powers the entire system of precipitation. The whole ecosystem is solar-powered. With DNA, you have to be able to tell which genes are turned on or off. Current DNA sequencing cannot do that. The next generation of DNA sequencing needs to be able to do this. If somebody invents this, then we can start to very precisely identify cures for diseases. There's nothing. I've bought everything I want. I don't like yachts or anything, you know, I'm not a yacht person, and I've got pretty much the nicest plane I'd want to have. A battery by definition is a collection of cells. So the cell is a little can of chemicals. And the challenge is taking a very high energy cell, and a large number of them, and combining them safely into a large battery. On one of the SpaceX flights, we had a secret payload, a wheel of cheese. We flew to orbit and brought it back, so it was the world's first space cheese. It was, in part, a tribute to Monty Python. It is theoretically possible to warp space-time itself, so you're not actually moving faster than the speed of light, but it's actually space that's moving. Man has the power to act as his own destroyer, and that is the way he has acted through most of his history. I tend to approach things from a physics framework. And physics teaches you to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. I think there are more politicians in favor of electric cars than against them. There are still some that are against it, and I think the reasoning for that varies depending on the person, but in some cases, they just don't believe in climate change. They think oil will last forever. Particularly on Instagram, people look like they have a much better life than they really do. People basically seem like they are way better looking than they really are, and they are way happier seeming than they really are. To make an embarrassing admission, I like video games. That's what got me into software engineering when I was a kid. I wanted to make money so I could buy a better computer to play better video games, nothing like saving the world. Some people don't like change, but you need to embrace change if the alternative is disaster. People work better when they know what the goal is and why. It is important that people look forward to coming to work in the morning and enjoy working. If something's important enough, you should try. Even if the probable outcome is a failure. If you get up in the morning and think the future is going to be better, it is a bright day. Otherwise, it's not. People work better when they know what the goal is and why. It is important that people look forward to coming to work in the morning and enjoy working. Starting a business is not for everyone. Starting a business, I'd say, number one is having a high pain threshold. I always invest my own money in the companies that I create. I don't believe in the whole thing of just using other people's money. I don't think that's right. I'm not going to ask other people to invest in something if I'm not prepared to do so myself. It's very important to like the people you work with. Otherwise, your job is going to be quite miserable. If humanity doesn't land on Mars in my lifetime, I would be very disappointed. The path to the CEO's office should not be through the CFO's office, and it should not be through the marketing department. It needs to be through engineering and design. If you're entering anything where there's an existing marketplace, against large, entrenched competitors, then your product or service needs to be much better than theirs. It can't be a little bit better, because then you put yourself in the shoes of the consumer. You're always going to buy the trusted brand unless there's a big difference. Patience is a virtue, and I'm learning patience. It's a tough lesson. If you're trying to create a company, it's like baking a cake. You have to have all the ingredients in the right proportion. I think it's very important to have a feedback loop, where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. I think that's the single best piece of advice. Constantly think about how you could be doing things better and question yourself. It's okay to have your eggs in one basket as long as you control what happens to that basket. People should pursue what they're passionate about. That will make them happier than pretty much anything else. We're already cyborgs. Your phone and your computer are extensions of you, but the interface is through finger movements or speech, which are very slow. We're running the most dangerous experiment in history right now, which is to see how much carbon dioxide the atmosphere can handle before there is an environmental catastrophe. Any product that needs a manual to work is broken.